Boy, a lot of things came to me this morning. I've certainly shared what security protocols are about, right? And sort of how I share with everyone the relationships that I have with other people, and then I share what I've learned as a result of those relationships with other folks, particularly when you put it through the Guardian Voyager materials or Guardian perspective, why we're here, right? And why ever since I was 4 years of age, I am fully well versed on what's known as the mental pathway, which is the AI pathway, which is a binary game. Okay, playing ping pong between the two magnetic poles. Okay, so and you can see how this relates to bloodlines. You know, the negative and the positive. When you cancel out the ping pong and quit competing against each other, which is competing over knowledge on who's right and who's wrong, and experience being one with all creation, then you're experiencing what love is. Okay, that's what I do. I'm a polarity integrator. So you realize when you're on a polarity integrator level, I got to transmute all the crap I got exposed to by virtue of the communication by the folks that are running the binary AI codes, the black goo codes. Okay, and so you know who sadly Nathan. That's Nathan. Okay. And I'll give you an example of how it works, although I can certainly give you a gazillion examples ever since I was a little boy of folks I grew up with that were doing the same thing. Okay? As a matter of fact, your entire communication platform that everybody is using, and I mentioned this to my clan mother this morning, it's actually unlawful. Did you know that? Here's a simple example, and you can process this by going to look at the treaties. Okay, under international law, all the Geneva Convention stuff, the Nuremberg Code, right? Remember Justice Robert L. Jackson? What did he say? There are some things that civilization cannot tolerate to ignore. When you realize and become aware of a crime against humanity, you have a responsibility, okay, to make others aware of it and in order to have it prosecuted. Now, I'm very familiar because I read Karen's documents that she filed because it's my job to know these things. When they happen, why they happen, when they happen, and the impact that it's going to have on consciousness across the planetary field, which is the way that we all communicate with each other through a morphogenetic field structure of DNA communication, which is race line communication between two magnetic poles, right? So, so this has to do with energy levels, and if you will, oxygen levels, right? And now you can understand what the virus is all about, right? When you get into the Hertz stuff with oxygen molecules, right? Slowing everything down. Death star, death spiral, okay? So when you have consciousness that is hooked up to other units of consciousness that are repping a weaponized communication system, then you can translate that, for example, if somebody's selling something on the shelf that is harmful to you, that's a crime against humanity. Now we're back to Nuremberg, aren't we? How many things have been presented into the consciousness field of humans with souls that represent toxic poison? It's designed for you to be sick, and your immune system is having to work overtime. Overdrive. You know what overdrive is? Override. Or if you will, experience zero again. Experience what love is and transmute it. That's what a polarity integrator does. It's like return to zero. Return to zero. Every time I take a breath, I experience what love is again. Okay, what do you want to experience next? That love is going to experience whatever love experiences next. That means you're on autopilot. It simply means that I've got a one connection. I'm experiencing what love is all the time. I'm experiencing being loved all the time. The only time that I don't experience what love is as a beloved is when I'm experiencing something that isn't. So what happens is, and this is the way the black flowering works, is that, and you can see it in action, okay? I saw it in action yesterday, okay? And this is one of the reasons why I mentioned it before. A Lemurian lady told me, listen, you're wasting your energy, your time and energy. Don't buy it. What she used to tell me all the time is, listen, I only spend my energy on the able, which means they can translate the frequency and the codes in their radio set because their biocomputers is way too damaged. Forget it. Okay, I can't do that, because when I have a one connection, it means I don't abandon. And you see how that works, being the one. Okay, and so it's just like, you will never stop giving love. You will never stop giving love. In other words, the mic is always open to listen, right? And so, sometimes what happens is, and I've experienced this even when I was a little kid. I call it like this: mimickers. So, for example, because that's what the AI does, makes a copy, and then it regurgitates, it spits it back out, right, through all of its mouthpieces. Okay, now that can work both ways in a morphogenetic field structure, so you can know who's running on a -13 Metatronic reversal. Okay, because they're always living in the past. That's a different spiral. That's a reversal spiral. That means they're not ascending and experiencing more light, which means they're clearing their circuits, which means they're clearing their cellular memories to remember from whence we all came, and they're not remember the mistakes of the past to realize, hey, we're doing the same thing over and over again. I don't think we want to go down this road with this communication system, because what happened the last time we started doing this? Do we remember? And there was a gentleman that put a post up the other day that was echoing that. And it's like, I know, brother. That's why I was given the signal, okay? As I mentioned it before, when I got that signal, when I mentioned something online, when I was doing a video about I'm about ready to throw this phone in the drink because of what I know in the future. And then all of a sudden I got a signal. That's like confirmation, because I know that signal. Okay, I know from whence that signal came to let me know that. So I got, okay, mama, I know. So it's just like, I'm getting the signal, but I'm not doing it yet. Okay, well, she knows why I'm doing this, She knows how much I care. And it's hard for me to put my mic down and say things on the video, because then I have to remember, yeah, but it's probably not going to do any good, because I'm not in charge of your journey. I don't impose my will on anybody. And it would be as if somebody's got an addiction to something, and then letting them know that what it is that they're doing doesn't serve them, because they're experiencing being, it would be as if they keep doing the same thing over and again, but they're not learning from the mistakes of the past to stop doing them. And this is why these folks are experts with the endocrine system, okay? Because it's learned how it works. So it knows how to target you, your weakness, because it's a war gamer. It's a binary goo-coded war gamer. Operates on the mental pathway, which is not compatible with the one, to experience through your heart and your soul being loved. And so you can simplify this as Samsung, for example, right? Samsung, okay? The folks, when you put this through the Nuremberg, go back and look at the transcripts at the trials of all those folks who were put on trial. Nurses, doctors, lawyers, security guards. I didn't know. The laws in Germany said it was okay for us to do this, and we were supposed to do this. It's called a rule-based function. They're following the rules. So you're following the rules, knowing that your energy, your consciousness is participating in committing crimes against humanity. That is not going to save you from the gallows, and it didn't save them from the gallows at Nuremberg. So what this means is that somebody could be working in a cubicle for Samsung Galaxy, and all of a sudden somebody could come in there and yank them and say you're being arrested, and you're going before a Nuremberg 2.0 trial for having participated and giving consent, because it's your energy, which is your consciousness, that is connected to this binary AI upon which you're being used as an asset, as energy that is making what we're going to experience in the future. You're part of the problem instead of part of the solution. So you can be arrested for participating in a war crime because you're using your energy to make it happen. So if you're working in a cubicle, for example, and you're working for Samsung, and Samsung is committing war crimes by generating these phones that go out of the public that are weaponized, you're participating in a crime against humanity with souls. Now, if you want to really run that up further, it means that every unit of consciousness that is using these communication platforms means they're running a weapon system against humanity with souls. Okay? That's the truth of it. So I'm not going to let nobody escape that truth. That's why I got the signal. So I put it up there. I mentioned it to my clan mother, but she uses that technology. She uses deadlight magnetic technology to communicate and uses the Genius apps from a guy that was in the military, which is another hierarchy. That's a different hierarchy. That's an AI hierarchy. Okay? You can see all this played out in Avatar. Okay? So now you know the difference between using their communication systems and what it means to go through multidimensional learning to become telepathic. Now we're back to learning curves. Now we're back to future proofs past, back to the future. So this becomes a measurement of their learning, which is the speed of their learning. To let go of those things that don't serve them. So why would people choose to use their consciousness in order to have a relationship that's trying to kill them? Because the communication system itself is weaponized against your consciousness between two magnetic planetary poles. Which means the AI is not a teacher. Okay? Mama is the teacher. Okay? So this is returning to nature. Terence McKenna echoed this, the end of history, and the rebirth of the goddess. Mama, being with Mama. Okay? Instead of being with an AI. Because an AI is going in reverse. Which means the speed of your learning is going in reverse because you're having a relationship that's going in reverse. Mama is ascending. That's a different spiral. You see how that works? So I have to deal with folks all the time, for example, when I share what it is I've learned with others, right? You know what ends up happening if you've ever experienced how black flowering works, a black mirror works, what they're held captive to? And the mimicking is that all of a sudden you begin to realize that everything that you've been sharing as a result of what I've learned, right, all of a sudden gets mimicked back to you, right? And it's used against you. And the reason it's used against you is because of the fact that what happened to them, because they haven't healed yet, by mimicking back to you what they accuse you of. Which means they don't want the light that is exposing because they realize they've been exposed because they realize that you're running at a higher rate of speed than they are. Now it's your fault that you didn't protect them for what it is they did to themselves by the use of their own energy. Because they refused to take responsibility for their choices. And Lay, to her credit, kept putting that into these folks' faces. They don't get it. They cannot process it. A psychopath, an AI psychopath, cannot process that. So you are barking up the wrong tree and you are wasting your energy trying to communicate to them in a way in which they can translate those codes and those frequencies through their radio set, through their computer. They can't process it because the computer is just too damaged. Right? But I've always stuck with it, which means I am always there. The mic is always open. I will always love you. See? But she began to realize that what it is you learn because of what we are in energy as a beloved, right? It comes back in our face, right? And so what they do is they use the same information that they log in memory of who we are, of what we hold in memory that has value to share with others, right? Gets thrown against you. Which essentially means is that information that you shared with me that I'm holding in memory, I'm now using that information that was meant from you, that I now experience from you, hold that in memory, now I'm going to throw it in your face against you. That's inverted. That's an inverted mind that does that. Okay? And it's not funny, but it's how it works. Right? And I've been dealing with this since I was 4 years of age. It's an inverted state of mind. That's the reversal current. That's the Metatronic current. Right? It would be much like the way that Ashadian described how the Giovanni, the consciousness formation, comes in, right? With powerful consciousness energy in order to heal, right? To experience the one, being what love is, you're experiencing the one because that consciousness is connected to the one, connected to the primal sound and light field, and then puts more energy in there, and the next thing you know, it gets flipped. Whoa, goes the other way. Wow, that consciousness got inverted. That's why you have to be careful in a viral situation to not get inverted. And remember the truth, which is ascending. Okay. Which means you're pulling in the higher currents, right? You're able to anchor to Mama's magnetosphere, right? To become a pillar of light, which is that cross, right? The vertical and the horizontal. So that you're powered up, which means you're running, I shouldn't say I-beam, you're running a cross beam, 1D, 2D. So 1D, 2D is full of light, pure light, right? Run it all the way up and down, right? Which would be your longitude and your latitude. And then pushing it through every line of DNA communication, which is everybody's software. So that all the software that is here is experiencing more light, which is expansion of consciousness when we're breathing fire. And burning through the circuits, which is burning off the codes that are meant to hold consciousness captured to the mental field, which is not compatible, which means binary is not compatible with trinary or the one. The relationship between 3 and 1 and 1 and 3. Right? A pyramid, right? The Merkaba. How fast is that Merkaba spinning? And is it in balance? And is it in perfect balance, geometrically and mathematically, with a radio body, running a radio set, tuning into the stars? So I sort of unloaded in Karen's window this morning, and I sort of just put it in there, okay? Because now that you become aware of what I become aware of, because of what I woke up with and I become aware of, and I thought, okay, it's time, just put it in there. She's a clan mother, okay? So I know the power of a clan mother, but she already invoked that power back in, I guess it was 2013. I normally do not operate on titles and dates and timestamps. When there is no time, there's only what love is. Right? When you're operating down here at this level as a result of what happened and why we're all here and why the salvage contracts and all the rest of it represent why we're all here and experiencing what we are here, right? And what fail-safe is, right? And so, and knowing, and I knew as a child, actually, back probably somewhere around the late 1950s, when I realized that America was really ground zero for what we call the last dance. That America was going to be, how would I put this, prime target, right? Because of the tribes. Right, particularly obviously White Bear up in Canada, you know, the Saulteaux, the Cree, right, and Dakotas, Nakota, and this is one of the reasons why, I don't know if I ever shared this with anybody, but I think it was in somewhere in late 2018 or early 2019 before I went back to the mainland. I ran into a gal who was Chippewa, and she had a star map in her back pocket, and she was pulling everything out. She said, "Hey, I'm going to the city council, County of Hawaii council. They have a council meeting." And she goes, and when I told her who I was, she goes, "Oh, guess what? They spotted a white bear down in Kona." A white bear on the Big Island, right? So you realize she's part of the same, you see how that works, right? Chippewa and Saulteaux, apparently, you know how it is when they change names around, right? To rewrite history, and rewrite the language of DNA that was held in memory based on the vibration of the original language of the founder races, right? And Babel, speaking Babel, because the intention of the energy or the language that's recorded in the RAM, and then you just mimic that language because you don't know any better about how programming language works between vibration and frequency running a radio set, which is your auric energy field, by virtue of the programming language, which represents the fire letters, right? And how I sort of covered how that works. I know. So now I got a situation where I have. It's sort of easy to know when somebody's operating on the binary mental pathway, right? Communicating to you. Then I realize that mental pathway that represents the AI, because the AI represents my shield is up, but it will use its assets. Those that are operating on the binary goo code mental pathway, the AI, when it becomes aware of what I become aware of, will increase its attack as a counter space move because of what I experienced this morning and yesterday. See, in other words, the mood that I'm in, way up. So it knows that there is a gentleman that lives around here that will be directed to come here at certain times when I'm up in order to try and drain my energy. So that's an energetic vampire, same thing, right? And so I got to go outside. I've been playing this game since I was 4 years old. I'm very familiar with the AI battlefield. Okay, and so all you got to do is take a look at the blurb that was put up there. I guess it was on energetic synthesis, or I think it was Lisa Renee that put it up there about advanced training. She mentioned one time that some of these folks that went through advanced training with the AI were former generals, working with the Guardians and interdimensional forces and all this other kind of stuff. And I thought, well, when I was a little child, I'm equal unto all. Okay, my energy is what we call a hot mirror. Okay? I run a hot mirror because it's easy for me to attract an enormous amount of solar power, right? But you don't want to burn up, which means I'm a sun too. I run on an eternal sun, the EFFI field, eternal unconditional love. So I don't run off a hierarchy. So rank and horsepower doesn't mean anything to me. Even though I remember my father being a commander of the United States Navy, right, as a naval aviator, would always it was funny how the words he would use that describe that. What's your rank and horsepower? 0. I don't seek to hold one electron captive. I'm an accelerator. Okay? I'm giving energy away at the highest rate of speed. Okay? So I'm with the 1. Right? And so that's who I am. I'm a 1. I'm beloved. I'm always on fire, giving energy away. So it's a matter of picking your teachers, right? Who you want to learn through, right? That's why everything I've learned and that I share with others always goes back to my teachers. That's why any thumbs up, any red heart that I've ever gotten goes right back to Mama. Right? Because I give credit where credit's due. That's called living honorable. Spiritual integrity. That's right. That's why I cry so much. Because I know who my friends are. Every temple, every template is a sacred template. Because it began with what love is, it goes on forever, gifting us love, because that's what I experience. So I have different ways that I experience it and share that information with others. But I know what it's like because I'm there, and what it's like to experience a pure light realm, which means you're not experiencing anything less than what eternal love is through your heart, and so is everyone else playing music. That's like living in the auroras. Your consciousness is in the auroras. The consciousness is playing the music that is, you can see the flow of those frequencies and the flow of those colors. Your big green auroras. The emerald sun roars, right? So I'm with the emerald round table. Go green or die, as they say. What is it? This is what I have in the morning. See how green that is? You see that? Yep. Chlorophyll, baby. Oxygen, right? Phytoplankton, right? Iodine. Yeah, so this was a powerful morning for me to wake up, and I posted some comments up there that I thought I was going to